Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture. My name is Burhanuddin and in this lecture we are going to learn about the list view. Okay, so let's just first go to the Android documentation and let's just have a look at what is list view. Okay, so let's just open a browser. I already opened the tab here. Okay, so as you can see here we are inside the Android documentation, and you can also open this documentation by just copying this link that is developer.android.com/reference/android/widget/listview. Okay, so now let's just have a look that what is actually list view. Okay, so as you can see now that this list view is actually extending the class of view which we have seen earlier. Okay, so let's just have, take a look at the definition of the list view. A list view is an adapter view that does not know the details. Okay, so as you can see it is list view is actually an adapter view that does not know the details such as the type of contents and the views it contains, as you can see here. Okay, so actually the list view, we can say that a list view is an upper part of a content which we have inside. Okay, so when you define a content from outside, that is some point of the content, and then you can actually click on that points in order to know the brief detail about the content. So for that purpose you can use list view. It also says that instead list view requests views on demand from the list adapter as needed, such as to display new views as the user scroll up or down. Okay, so it means to say that list view is basically a view which requests views on demand from the list adapter. So list adapter is a class which we will study about in detail in the later on in this video. Okay, so but for now we can consider list view as a list of things on which we can click in order to expand or in order to read in details. Okay, so as you can see here, in order to use the list view we need to actually extend our class to the base adapter, and we are going to learn this thing later on in this video. But for now let's just jump into our Android Studio project, and let's just open up the Android Studio and create a new project. Okay, so let's just open the new Android Studio and start a new project. So let's just start a new Android Studio project, and now for this tutorial I will use this basic activity instead of this empty activity. So let's just select this basic activity and click on this next button. Okay, so we are actually going to create multiple examples of list view in this lecture. So I will name this application as the list view example 1. Okay, so I am using this naming convention as I am going to create multiple applications in this example in this lecture. Okay, so now let's just click on the finish button here, and let's just wait until the Gradles are built successfully. Okay, so as you can see now my project is ready. So let's just design our layout first. Okay, so I don't want to use this as you can see, if I switch to this design view, I don't want to use this layout, so I will not alter anything in this layout, but instead I want to use the content layout which came with the when I choose the basic activity. Okay, so let's just close this project pane, and now let's just switch to the split view. So as you can see, this is my content layout. So I want to alter some things here. So first I want to remove this fragment view from my design. Okay, so as you can see, I have removed my fragment view from my design. So the next thing that I want to do is actually change this constraint layout. So now for this lecture I don't want to change this constraint layout to the linear layout. Instead I want this constraint layout to be changed as a text view. Okay, so I can simply write here text view, and now you can see that we can also use Android components as a root layout. Okay, so as you can see here we have used the text view as my root layout. Okay, so now let's just take a look at some attributes of this text view. So we are going to keep the layout width of this text view to the match parent, and the layout height of the text view to the match parent as well. So now we have one additional attribute inside this text view which came from this app, and it says that layout behavior. Okay, so layout behavior of my of this text view is of scrolling view behavior. Okay, so now let's just add some more attributes to this text view. Okay, so what I want, first of all, let's just change the background color of this text view. I want the background color of my text view to be same as my action bar color. So I will set the background color to the color primary. Okay, so as you can see now what I want to do is now let's just add some padding inside this text view. Okay, so what will I do is just put some padding here. So I will say the padding to be let's just put the padding to 20 dp. Okay, so it will put some 20 dp space from each and every side inside my design. Okay, so now let's just change the text size in order to increase the to see the text in larger. Okay, so let's just set the text size to 25 sp now. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is change the text color. So let's just put the text attribute first in order to see the text, that how does it looks inside our this text view. Okay, so for now let me just put a demo text here in order to, that we can see the text inside this text view. So I will set demo text, and now as you can see the color of my text inside this text view is of black. So I want to change this color from black to white. So for that I can simply set text color, and then I don't want the color primary, instead I want the color to be color white. So I will use the hex code for that, and for the white the hex code is FFF. Okay, actually I can use this F6 times, but it will still remain white if I use it for 3 times. Okay, so now let's just change the text style to bold. So I will say text style to bold. Okay, so that's it for this text view, and I don't want to alter any other attributes now. So let's just remove this text. Okay, and now let's just switch to our main activity in order to implement our logic. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is remove this content view, because I don't want this activity main. If you click control and hold control and click on this activity main, you can see that this is my layout, but actually I don't want to use this layout. Instead I want to use this content main underline main.xml layout. In other words, this content we can say that this content underline main.xml layout resides inside this activity main layout. If I switch to the code view, now as you can see here it includes my layout, that is content main, with the other attributes also. So as you can see, if I switch to the split view, my activity main.xml layout actually consists of the constraint layout as the base layout or the root layout, and inside this root layout it has an app bar, that is this one, and it also has a toolbar, and then after the toolbar it is actually including my content underline main.xml file. So if I comment or if I remove this file, now as you can see the background color has been changed to white. So it was the color primary because we have changed the color of my content layout. So actually this is including my content layout in this way, and as you can see after the content layout it is also actually including this floating button here. Okay, so it is adding the floating button here. So in this way we can actually merge or add different views in a single activity. Okay, so in this way we can do that. But for now, let's just move on to the main activity and main activity.java file. And actually I don't need this activity underline main.xml file. So what can I do is simply just remove this set content view from my own create method, and so that it will not longer use that file. Okay, so the next thing I can do is also remove this code which is for this floating button and for other stuff, toolbar and stuff. Okay, so I can simply just remove this code from here, and I can also remove this on create options menu and option item selected code. So we have studied about the menu in the upcoming on the previous lecture, and you may now know that for what purpose we uses this on create options menu on method and on options item selected method. Okay, so for now I don't want any menu inside my file, so I can just simply remove this codes from here. Okay, so now I can implement my logic here. So first what I want to do is I want to create a string array. So okay, so let's just create a string array here. So the type of my array will be of string type. Okay, and the name, let's just specify in order to create an array I need to use the square brackets. So I will use the square bracket like this. Okay, so I am specifying here that I want to create an array. So let's just give the name of my array to be course name. Okay, so I can say it like this. Okay, so now let's just initialize our array with some string values. Okay, so for initializing an array I use the opening braces and closing braces, and I can specify my values inside these braces. Okay, so as my array is of string type, the values will be inside the double quotes. So inside the double quotes I can specify my values. Okay, so let's just put some values inside this array. Okay, so in this array I want to specify some names of the courses that are available of the development. Okay, so for this different development courses that we can use, so let's just specify them. So the first one, let's just say Android development. So I'll say Android development, or I can say Android developer course instead. Okay, so let's just put some more courses in here. So I'll say iOS developer course. So let's just put another one. I'll say Java developer course. Let me put this in next lines in order to so that you can view this in a better way. So let's just put some space here, and now let's just add some other courses here. Okay, so the next one, I'll say Objective C developer course. So I'll say Objective C developer . For the next one, let's just say web developer course. Okay, so let's just add some few more, and next I want to add of machine learning. And then I want to add AI. And then finally the last value that I want to add is of IoT. Okay, So now our array is created. So let's just put a semicolon at the end in order to specify that my array ends here. Okay, and now let's just in order to implement the list view, you can actually see that inside our content underline main.xml, we are not actually using the list view. Instead, we are using the text view. So in order to implement the list view in this way, we can actually use the list activity instead of this app compact activity. So if we can actually use the list view component from the palette section instead of this text view. So if I open the palette section, let me switch to a design view, and now you can see that inside this widgets we can find our list view somewhere. So it will be inside the container. So we can actually search the list view from here. So as you can see, here is my list view which resides inside the legacy section actually. So actually I can drag and drop my list view here and use it, but instead of using the list view, I want to use my text view as my root layout. Okay, so now let's just switch back to the main activity.java file, and now to implement the list view, actually I need to change this app compact activity to list activity, and I want to include the files from the list activity into the main activity. So for that I can just simply say list view here. Oh, list activity. So actually I want to extend the files from the list activity. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is to create the object of the ArrayAdapter class. Okay, so I will say ArrayAdapter, and then here I want to specify the type. So I can actually say inside this angular bracket I can say string. Okay, and then I can specify the name of the object that I want to create, and I will name it as adapter. Okay, so now let's just take a look at this. What is ArrayAdapter class? Okay, so here is the Android documentation. You can check this documentation also by yourself by going into the developer.android.com/reference/android/widget/ArrayAdapter. So now let's just read this documentation that what it says about the Android adapter view. So now as you can see that ArrayAdapter view is a class which takes an argument of token type, and it actually extends from base view and base adapter actually, and base adapter actually is extending from the object. Okay, so now you can we are actually going to learn about this base adapter in the later on in this lecture, but for now let's just not focus on that. Let's just focus on this ArrayAdapter class. So it says that you can use this adapter to provide views for adapter view. This adapter view, this ArrayAdapter class returns a view of each object. So in the collection of the data object you provide. So we actually want that only. So what we want that we want to return our string array that we have created in our code, and we want to put that string array inside our list view. So it says that by default the ArrayAdapter creates a view by calling object to string method, and on each data object in the collection you provide and places the results in the text view. So that is the reason we have used this text view inside our content underline main.xml file, because this ArrayAdapter class will place the object inside the text view. Okay, place the result inside the text view. You may also customize what type of view is used for the data object in the collection. Okay, so customize what type of view is used for the data object. We can override the get view method, that is the custom view. Okay, but for this application I don't want to create a custom view. I just want to create a simple list view. Okay, in the upcoming video, in the upcoming example, we are going to actually create the custom view, but for now let's just keep it to the simple list view. So here, as you can see, are the some example or the some public constructors of this array or adapter class. So the first one is the simple constructor, which takes two arguments, one of type context and another of type resource. So here are the some constructor we can use with this ArrayAdapter class, and here are some methods that we can use with the ArrayAdapter class. Okay, so first let's just move back to the our main activity.java file, and now after creating the object of the adapter class, now let's just initialize or instantiate our ArrayAdapter object. Okay, so we are using this ArrayAdapter object because we want to place this array inside the list view, that is the text view. Okay, so we want to place the array inside a string of arrays. As we want to place the array of strings inside our text view, that's why we are using the ArrayAdapter class. Okay, so let's just instantiate our ArrayAdapter class here. So for that, I can simply say adapter. I can refer to the object of my ArrayAdapter class, that is adapter, and then I can say equals to new adapter or new ArrayAdapter, and then now inside this angular bracket, I need to provide the type of my ArrayAdapter that I have specified here, that is of string type, and now I can specify it here. Okay, so I can say string here, and then inside the constructor, inside this parenthesis, I will provide three. This parenthesis will actually take three arguments. The first one will be the context or my current activity. So for the first one, I can specify main activity dot this. Okay. Now for the second argument, actually I need to pass the layout on which I want to inflate or implement or inflate this ArrayAdapter. Okay, or for the layout, I can say, or the layout on which I want to show my results. Okay, so for in this case, our layout name is content underline main. Okay, so I can specify it here like r.layout dot as you can see, Android autocomplete feature is already suggesting me some layouts which are already available inside my project. Now I can select content underline main layout from here. Okay, so now let's just for the third argument, I need to provide the string array that I want to use. Okay, so the name of my string array is course name, so I can specify the name of my string array here, and now let's just put the semicolon at the end. So in this way we can set the adapter. Now the next thing we want to do is now to set the adapter. Okay, so now let's just set the adapter, and to setting up the adapter, I can simply say set list adapter. Okay, so I can simply say set list adapter. I can use this method in order to set the list adapter. Okay, so now this list adapter method, set list adapter method, takes one argument of the ArrayAdapter object. So I can simply specify the adapter object in here. Okay, so this will set up the list adapter for me. So now let's just run our application and see whether it is working or not. So let's just select this Pixel 3 emulator, and now let's just run our application. Okay, so now as you can see, the text view that we have created inside our content underline main.xml layout, now it contains all the values of my string array that we have specified in here. Okay, so now one more thing that I want to do or I want to show you before moving on to the next part is we can this text view is actually of scrollable, so we can actually scroll this thing right here. Okay, so for that, let's just increase the size of the font a little bit, and then we can see that that scroll behavior of our text view layout. So let me just put the size of our text to be 70 sp. Okay, so that will be big enough for the scrolling. Okay, so now let's just reinstall our application and see whether it works or not. So now as you can see, our application is up and running, and now I can actually scroll this thing right here. So as you can see, I can scroll this thing in order to see the each and every names inside my string array or my list view. So now the next thing that we can do with this list view is actually we can click on this objects of the list view, that is each and every element so inside my list view. So I can actually click on them in order to see some results, or in order to see some other specific in order to do some other specific task. Okay, so let's just implement on click listener for this list view. Okay, so for that let's just move back to our main activity.java file. Now let's just implement one method, that is the on click listener method. We can again click an anonymous listener for that, but let's just implement the whole listener on this class. So for that I can implement that method here. So I can say implements, and then what we can say is adapter view Okay, so now I can put a dot here, and then I can use this on click listener, on item click listener method actually. Okay, so now as you can see, it is giving me an error because we need to override one method that is on click listener on item click method of this. Okay, so let's just override that method here first. So I can say on item click, and now as you can see, we have overridden one method here. Okay, and now the error is gone. So now let's just first set the on click for this listener. So for that let me just create one object for the list view. Okay, so let me just put a comment here that for click listener. Okay, now let me just create an object for the list view. So I can simply say list view, and then I can create the object for the list view. Let's just name it as LST view. Let's just import the classes for this or libraries for this list view. For that I can hold alt and press enter key on my keyboard, and now as you can see, the classes libraries are imported for the list view. Okay, so now let's just create this object for the list view, and for doing that we can use one method of the list view which says get list view. Okay, so in this way we can create the object of the list view. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon, and now let's just set the on item click listener for this object or this list view object. Okay, so we can say lst view, we can use this object, and then I can say dot set, and now I can set the set on item click listener, and as you can see here, in this way I can set the item on click listener, and now I simply need to pass the current activity as the context. So I can just simply say main activity and then dot this. Okay, so now let's just implement our logic inside this on item click method. Okay, so what I want that whenever user clicks on this item, any of this item of this list view, I want the I want to show a toast message of that current item text. That is, if a user clicks on this Android developer, it should give me a toast message saying the Android developer. If the user clicks on this AI course, it should give me a toast message of AI course. So first thing we need to do is to get that string value from particular position. Okay, so as you can see here, this method on item click actually gives us 3 parameters. Okay, actually 4 parameters. So the first one is of adapter view. So this is actually this view itself. So this is the object of this view itself. So we can use this object in order to fetch the data from this view. So the second object is of second parameter is of view type. The third parameter is of integer type, which says the position. So we can actually use this parameter in order to get the position of the item that is getting clicked. Okay, and the last parameter is of long type, which has the ID of the views. Okay, So now let's just implement our logic here. So what I need to do here is I want to create a string or variable first, which will get the string value from the particular item that is getting clicked. Okay, so let's just create a string variable here. So I can say string, and then I can name the variable as item view, item value. Okay, so now let's just fetch the value of fetch the string value from the item that is getting clicked by the user. Okay, so I can simply use this parent adapter view object, that is parent here. So I can say parent, and then I can use one method, that is get item at position, which will get the item at the particular position on which user has clicked. So I can use this method, get item at position. Okay, so I can use this method, and inside this method I can actually pass this position which I am getting from this item clicked method. Okay, so I can actually pass this position variable object here. Okay, so then I need to convert this value into the string type. So I can simply say dot toString here. So I will simply say dot toString method here. Okay, and then I can put the semicolon at the end. Now we can use this item value string in order to show the toast message. So I can simply create a toast message here. So I will say toast dot make text. Okay, so now let's just pass the main activity as a context. So I will simply say main activity dot this. Okay, so now let's just, for the second argument, I want to show the string value, that is the item view. So I can simply pass the item value here. Okay, now for the third argument, let's just specify the length of the toast message, and for the length I will keep the length to be short. So I can simply say toast dot length to be short. Okay, so now let's just put the show method here in order to show this toast message. Okay, so now we are done here. So now let's just run our application and see whether it is working or not. So now as you can see, my application is installed in my emulator. Now I can use let's just check our on click method. So now let's just click on this machine learning course, and now as you can see, it is giving me a toast message of machine learning course. Okay, now let's just click on some other item here. So if I click on this iOS developer course, now as you can see, it is giving me a iOS developer course message, toast message here. So here is how you can create a simple list view using this list activity class, and instead of using list view, you can actually use this text view. And now here's an example that how you can use this ArrayAdapter in order to put your result inside the text view, as we have done here inside our content underline main.xml layout file. Okay, and then here is how you can implement the on item click method in order to do some specific task on the click of the user on the specific item. Okay, so now that's it for this particular example. So now let's just create another example or another application in which we will see that how we can create a custom view. Okay, so now let's just go to this file and click on this close project in order to close this project. So now let's just click on this terminate in order to close our application from this emulator. Okay, so now let's just create another project. So I will click on this start a new project, but and then I'll again choose this basic activity. So now let's just click on next, and now I will name this application as ListView example 2. Okay, so I'll name it as ListView example 2. Okay, so now let's just click on this finish button, and now let's just wait until the Gradles are built successfully. So now as you can see, my project is ready, and now here is my content view as usual. Okay, so now what we want to do, Now what we want to do is instead of this fragment inside my content view, I want to put a linear layout and then a list view inside it. Okay, so now let's just remove this fragment layout from my content view. Let's just close this project pane, and now let's just switch to the split view instead, so that you can view this thing in a better way. Okay, so let's just minimize this thing a little bit. Okay, now what I want to do is, instead of this constraint layout, I want to use the linear layout or the relative layout is my root layout. So I will just switch this layout to the relative layout. Okay, so now I want to add a linear layout here, so I can simply add a linear layout here by specifying linear layout. Okay, so now I'll put the linear the width of this linear layout to the match parent, and the height to be match parent as well. Okay, so let's just do that. Now let's just change the orientation of the linear layout, because we know that by default the orientation of the linear layout will be vertical. Okay, so now let's just change the orientation of the linear layout, so that for that I can use this orientation attribute, and now I can specify it to be vertical. Okay, so now let's just add the this relations of this linear layout to this to this relative layout. Okay, so for that I can say layout center vertical to be true and layout center horizontal to be true, in order to put this linear layout at the center of this relative layout. Okay, so I'll say layout center horizontal to be true, layout center horizontal to be true. Okay, so now let's just put a closing angular bracket here in order to close this linear layout. But I don't want to close this linear layout like this. Actually I want to close this linear layout with a separate tag, so that I can add elements inside this linear layout. Now I want to add a list view inside this linear layout, so I can do that with the help of code also. So let's just do it in code. So I can use list view attribute here, and now as you can see we have added a list view inside it. So I'll put the layout width to be match parent, and I want to put the layout height to wrap content. Okay, so now as you can see the list view is added here inside our design view. Okay, so as you can see our list view is added here. So now let's just implement some more attributes inside this list view. Okay, so now let's just give this list view an ID. So I'll give this list view an ID and let's just name this as LST view. So I'll say this as LST view. Okay, so now let's just put a layout gravity attribute to this list view. So I want the layout gravity to be center horizontal, so that it remains center at the center of my linear layout. Okay, so I will say layout gravity and now I want the layout gravity to be center horizontal. Okay, so it will be horizontally centered inside my linear layout. Now let's just put the closing angular bracket in order to close this list view. Okay, so now we are done for this content layout. Now let's just create our custom layout for the list view, as we want to create a custom list view here. Okay, so now let's just create a new layout XML file. So just right click on this layout folder and now go to new, and then click on this layout resource file in order to create a new layout resource file. Okay, so now I will name the layout resource file to be custom list view. So let's just say custom, and we cannot use the space inside this while the naming any resource file. So instead I can use the underline, or so I will say custom list view. Okay, now let's just click on OK, and it will create a new layout file for me. Okay, so now let's just modify this layout file. Let's just close this project pane and switch back to the split view. Okay, so now instead of this linear constraint layout, I want to use the linear layout. So let's just do it first. So I'll say linear layout instead, this one. Now what I can do, let me just first change the orientation of the linear layout, because we know that by default the orientation of the linear layout is horizontal. So let's just change it to the vertical first. So I'll say orientation to be vertical. Okay, so now let's just change the background color of my linear layout. I want the background color of my linear layout to be same as the color of my action bar. So I will say background, and then I'll say color primary. Okay, so this will change the background color of my linear layout. Now instead of directly putting some or directly putting some UI elements inside my linear layout, I will use the relative layout in order to specify the space or put the UI element at the specific location. Okay, so I will use the relative layout inside my linear layout. So in this way you can use multiple layouts inside inside a specific layouts. Okay, so let's just use this relative layout, and I will put the layout width to be mesh parent and layout height to be mesh parent as well. Okay, so now let's just put the layout gravity to be center horizontal, so that this relative layout stays at the center of this linear layout. Okay, so I can specify it here that layout gravity to be center horizontal. So now let's just close this relative layout with the separate closing tag in order to place the contents inside this relative layout. So now I can put my UI elements inside this relative layout. So for this custom view, what I want is to show one image view right here, and then after this image view I want to show three things right here. And I want to show, actually I want to put a image of an animal here, and then I want to put the animal name here, then animal speed and animal power. Okay, so for that I will need one image view UI element, and then I will need three text view UI elements. Okay, so now let's just put the image view here first. So I will say image view. Okay, so now let's just put the layout width and the layout height of this image view to a hard coded value, and I will put 100 dp for them. So I'll say 100 dp for layout width and 100 dp for layout height in order to make it square. Okay, so now let me just give this image view an ID. So I'll put the layout ID of this image view to be img view. Okay, let me remove this. Okay, now let's just put an image inside this image view, but first let's just import some images inside our Android project. So I already downloaded some images for that I want to use inside my project. Okay, so let me open it first. So now as you can see, here are my images that I want to use inside my Android project. So I can simply put them inside my Android project. So let's just open the Android Studio, and now let's just open this project pane, and now let's just go to this rest folder. Okay, now I will just right click on this rest folder, and I will go click on this show in explorer in order to view this open this rest folder in my file explorer. Okay, so now let's just open this drawable folder, and now I can put my images right in here. Okay, so what we will do that drag all these images from here, or I can just select them all, and then I can just copy them, and now I will paste them inside my rest folder. Okay, drawable folder. So I'll just paste them here. So now as you can now if we see these images will be added inside my drawable folder like this. So now we can use these images inside our image view. So now let's just put one image here inside our image view. So let me put tiger image that we have inside our rest folder inside this image view right here. So I want to put this image inside my image view. So let's just close this project pane, and now I can use the src attribute in order to specify the image. Okay, so I will use this src attribute, and as my image is residing inside my drawable folder, I will say drawable, and I will choose this tiger image right here. Okay, so now as you can see, the tiger image is right here inside my image view. Now I want to put some padding inside my linear layout in order to give this some space to breathe. Okay, so let's just put some padding here. So I can say padding, and I will put the padding of 18 dp here. So this will actually put padding value outside of my relative layout, as we have a relative layout inside our linear layout. Okay, so basically we have putting some space inside my linear layout, but it is adding some space outside my linear relative layout. Okay, so now let's just give this image view attribute some relations with this relative layout. So first thing I will say that I will align this image view on the top of my parent. So for that I can say align parent top, and I can specify it to be true. The next thing I want to do is I want that this image view to be always to stay always at the left of my relative layout. So I can say align parent left to be true. So I can say align parent left, and now I can specify this value to be true. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want this image view to be aligned at the start of my relative layout. So I can also say align parent start to be true. Okay, so that's it for this image view. So now let's just put the closing angular bracket in order to close this image view. Okay, so now let's just put our text views inside this linear layout. So let me put first text view here. So I will say text view. Okay, so I will put the layout width of the text view to be mesh parent, and layout height of this text view to be wrap content. Okay, so now let's just add some text, but I want the text to be I don't want the text to be in a hard coded form. So let me add the text inside my values folder inside my string.xml file. Okay, so here as you can see there are some string names already specified about the application. So we can also specify our names string values here. Okay, so we want to actually create the three string values, and the first one will be for the animal name, the second one will be for the animal power, and the third one will be for the animal speed. Okay, so let's just put them here. So I can say here I can open a string attribute here, and then I will name it as animal name. So I can say name animal, and then I can simply provide a value here inside this string tag. Okay, so I can simply provide the value of the name of the element to be animal to be name of the animal. So I will simply say name of the animal. The advantage of putting the values inside this string.xml file is that if later on or in the future I want to change this particular value, then I don't need to change that value inside every places that where I've used this value. Instead I can just simply change this this thing instead I can just change it at the one place, and it will automatically get changed inside everywhere inside my project wherever I've used this value. Okay, so now let's just put other values inside the string.xml file. So the next thing that I want to put is of power of the animal, and the third thing I want to put is the speed of the animal. So let's just say string, and let's just put the name as speed, and for the value I will say speed. Okay, so now let's just put the third thing also. So I open the string tag, and now I want to specify the power. So I'll say power here. Okay, and let's just put the power here as well. Okay, So now we can actually use this string value inside our Android XML file. Okay, so let's just close this string.xml file, and now here I can open a text attribute here, and now I can specify my value here with @string, and now I can access all the values inside my string.xml file. So first I need to specify the name of animal. So for that I have this name animal value. Okay, so now as you can see, it has put value here, but as it is below my image view, we are not able to see it properly. So let's just fix it. Okay, so now let's just change the alignment of my text view. So for that I will align to the right of the image view and to the end of the image view. Okay, so for that I can say that align to the right of image view. So I can use this layout to the right of the image view. Okay, so I can use this, and the next thing I want to be at the end of my image view. So for that I can say end of my image view. And one more thing that is that I want this text view to be always at the top of my relative layout. So I can say align parent top to be true. I can say align parent top to be true. Okay, so now let's just change the text size and text color of my text view, and then let's just give this an ID. So for the text color I will say text color to be white. So I can say FFF, and for the text size, let me put the text size of 30 SP here. So I can say text size to be of 30 SP. Okay, so now as we can see it in a proper way. So let's just decrease this text size a little bit, because there are some more values that will come after this animal name. Okay, so let me just give it a text text size of let's just say 25 dp or 25 sp. Okay, so that's looking good. So now let's just assign an ID to this text view. I will say the ID to be txt name. Okay, so let's just put an ID here, and then I can say txt name. Okay, so now let's just put the closing angular bracket, and we are done for this text view. So let's just put our other two text view as well. So I'll say text view, then let's just put the layout width to be match parent, and layout height to be wrap content. Okay, so now I want the text to be of power, so I can simply say text, and then I can refer to my string file, and then let's just search for our here is our value power. Okay, so now let's just align this value properly. So I'll say it to be to the below of my text view name. So I can say below this layout below attribute here, and now I want to put this text view to the below of the txt name. Okay, so now let's just align it after the image view. So for that I can say to right of, and I want to be right of the image view, and I also want it to the end of the image view. So I can say end of to the image view. Now as you can see, it is aligned properly. So now let's just give this a text size of 25 sp as well. So I can say text size to be 25 sp. Okay, so now let's just change the text color to be white. So for that I will say text color to be FFF. Okay, so now let's just apply some padding to this text views, as it seems to be too closer to the image view. So let me just assign some padding to the left from this text view. So I can say padding left. I can assign the padding left attribute here, and let's just put the padding left to be 5 dp. That will be enough. Okay, so now as you can see, it is a little bit away from my image view. So let's just close this text view, and now let's just assign some padding to this text view as well. So I'll say padding left to be 5 dp. Okay, so now we are actually not assigned an ID to it. So let's just assign an ID to it as well. So I will say ID, and I will say the ID of this to be txt power. So I can say txt animal power actually. So I will say txt animal power. Okay. So now let's just put our third and final text view here. So I will open the text view tag here. And now I will put my layout width. I will say that my layout width to be match parent and layout height to be wrap content. So let's just put it here. So I will say layout width to be match parent and layout height to be wrap content. So now let's just add some text value to this text view. So I will say text, and then I will refer to my string.xml class. And now I will put my speed value here. So now let's just align this text view. So now let's just align this text view. So for that, I will say it to the below of my animal power and right and end of my image view. Okay, so let's just write it here. So let's just put layout height to the below of my layout to be below of my text view power, animal power, and I want it to the right of image view. So I'll say right of image view, and also at the end of image view. Okay, so now let's just add some padding value as well. So I'll say padding to the left to be 5 dp. Okay, so now let's just change the text size and color. So I'll say text color to be white, and now I want the text change text size to be 25 dp as well. So I'll say text size to be 25 sp. Okay, so now let's just put ending angular bracket, closing into angular bracket here, and now we are done for our custom layout. Okay, so now let's just switch back to the main activity in order to put our logic here. Okay, so first let's just declare our ListView object here inside our main activity. So for that I will type ListView here, and then I will declare the object of my ListView with the name LSTView. Okay, so let's just put the semicolon at the end, and now let's just move on to our on create activity. Okay, so now we actually don't need this toolbar and stuff, but let's just keep it as it is, and let's just remove this floating button from our layout. Okay, and let's just remove this from our main activity as well. So here is my main activity main. Let's just remove these things here because we don't need them. So let's just remove this stuff. Let's just remove this thing as well, and let's just remove this thing as well. So we want only this thing inside our activity main. Okay, so let's just switch back to our main activity.java file. So let's just remove this toolbar as well, as we do not want to add this in our activity main. Okay, so now let's just instantiate our ListView object here. So for that I will say LSTView, and then I can actually cast this into the ListView type. So I will actually cast it. So for that I will say it to be type ListView, and then I will say find view by ID, and then r.id the ID of my ListView was LSTView, I guess. Yeah, so let's just put the semicolon at the end. Okay, so now let's just set a custom adapter because we want to create a custom view. But first let's just delete this code from here because we no longer want that code in our main activity. Okay, so now let's just set up the custom view first, and then we will set that custom view to inflate on our list view. Okay, so let's just create a new custom view class here. So go to this Java folder and then right click on your package folder and then create a new Java class. Okay, so we will name our class as custom. So I'll name it as custom view. Okay, so let me just put the C in the caps. So let's just put the proper naming conventions here. So now this custom view class will extend one class. Custom view will or I can name it as custom list adapter. So let's just name it because it makes more sense. Okay, so I'll name it as custom list adapter. Okay, so now let's just put a class which this custom list adapter class will extend, and the class that I want to extend is of base adapter. So let me just specify base adapter, and now as you can see it has already put that superclass to be android.widget.base adapter. So now we don't want to alter anything else, so let's just click on this OK, and let the Android Studio create a class for me. Okay, so as you can see here, it is giving me an error because we need to override some methods here or implement some methods over here. But first let's just learn about this base adapter class, that what is this base adapter class. Okay, so let's just open the Chrome browser, and I already opened a tab for it, and as you can see right here, you can also visit this link using developers.android.com/reference/android/widget/base adapter. Okay, so now as you can see the base adapter class here, and it extends from this object. Okay, object class, and we have seen inside this ArrayAdapter class that it actually extends from this base adapter class. Okay, so now let's just switch back to this base adapter class, and as per the definition of Android developer documentation, it says that it is a common base class for the common implementation of the adapter that can be used in both ListView and by implementing the specialized list adapter interface, and also we can also use this base adapter class when we are using the spinner. Okay, so that was our base adapter class, and these are certain methods of the base adapter class. We are actually going to use some of these methods inside our ListView. So let's just switch back to the Android Studio, and then now let's just implement certain methods of this class. So for implementing them, just right click on this editor and then just go to generate and then implement methods, and we want to implement these methods of our base adapter class. Okay, so as you can see these methods are implemented now. Okay, so first now if you in the previous example we have created a string array which we were inflating to the list view. So as we were doing that thing inside our main activity, but for this example, as I want to create the custom list view, I will create those string arrays inside our custom list view adapter class. Okay, so let's just do it right here first. Okay, and then what we will do that we will create a constructor of this custom adapter class, and then we will pass the context there too. Okay, so now let's just create declare some variables here first. So first thing I want to declare here, let's just close this project pane first, and now let's just declare some variables. So the first thing I want to declare here is the context variable. So we know that what context variable does, it has the information about the current context of the application. Okay, so in order to declare the context variable, what will I say is in the capital I can say context here, and then I can create the object of the context with the name context. Okay, so now let's just declare another variable here. So the next thing that I want to declare object or create the object of is of layout inflator. Okay, so I can say layout. I can say layout inflator here, and now I can create the object of layout inflator here. So I will name it as layout inflator. So using this object of layout inflator, we are going to actually inflate our layout to the our main activity main layout. Okay, so now let's just declare the object first here, and now let's just create our arrays here. Okay, so actually I want to create 3 array or 4 arrays here. The first array will be of animal images that will contain the images of my animal that I want to show here inside my image view. Okay, and now the second array will be of the name of the animal that will be shown here in place of this animal name. The third array will be of power, which will contain the information about the power of the animal, and then the fourth array will be of speed, which will contain the information about the speed of the animal. And then notice one thing, that each of these array elements will be of a similar sequence, so that we can keep track of which animal has which power. Okay, so we don't need to apply another separate logic for them in order to identify the power and speed of different animals. Okay, so now let's just switch back to this custom list view adapter class, and now let's just create our arrays here. So the first array that I want to create is of animal images. So now as the images will be residing inside my drawable folder right here, I will create an array of type integer. Okay, so I can say integer, and then I can say array. So I am creating an array of type integer like this. Okay, so I will say animal images right here. Okay, so now I can specify the position or my images right here inside this array. So I can do that in this way. I can just simply say r dot drawable dot beer. If this is the first name of my animal image. Okay, so in this way I can specify every images inside this animal images array. Okay, so let's just do that. So now we have all our images right here inside this animal images array, and in this way we have created an animal images array of type integer. Okay, so now let's just create another array which will contain the name of our animal, and then as we are going to place the name of the animals. The type of my array will be of type string. Okay, so let's just create a string array which will contain the animal names. So now we have created a string array of with the names of our animals. So now the third array we required will be of the power of the animal. So as the power will be in integer form, so we need to create an array of integers. Okay, so let's just do that. So I'm actually randomly putting the values here, and I'm not actually getting much depending much on these values. Actually I'm randomly putting these values because I want to just show you that how we can use multiple arrays, and then we can get the position of the certain elements inside those arrays, and how we can inflate those values inside our custom list view layout. Okay, so now let's put the semicolon at the end. So now the fourth array that we want to create is of the speed of the animals. So let's just as the speed will be also in the integer format, so we need to create an array in integer format. So I can simply say integer, and then I'll put the square brackets here, and then I will name the array as animal speed. Okay, so now as we have created our three arrays that we want to use in our application, now as you can see the number of elements inside every array is the same. Okay, so now let's just create a constructor of our custom ListView adapter class, and for that you can just simply do this, right click on this editor and then go to generate, and then click on this constructor. Now we can select that what are the attributes that we want to pass as an argument inside our constructor, but I want the only attribute that to be passed inside my constructor is of context. So I can just select this context and then click on this OK. So now as you can see the constructor is getting created for me. Okay, so now let's just instantiate our layout inflator object inside this constructor which we have created right here. Okay, because we are actually instantiating our layout inflator object inside the constructor is because the one of the properties of the constructor is that the constructor gets the values of the constructor get initialized when the object of the class is created. So actually when what I want is when I create the object of this custom ListView adapter class inside my main activity, I want the I want the layout inflator to be instantiated. So that is why I'm creating the object instantiating the layout inflator object inside my constructor of this class. Okay, so let's just say in order to instantiate the object of the layout inflator, we need to first let's just cast it to the layout inflator. And now in order to instantiate it, we can use the this context object, and then I can say context dot. We can use the get system service method in order to get the layout inflator service. Okay, so I will use this get in system service method, and in the parameters as an argument I can use the context of the class, and then I can say layout in the caps, I can say layout inflator service. So in this way, and then put the semicolon at the end, and in this way I can instantiate my layout inflator object. As you can see here, I am getting the layout inflator service with the help of context, and then I am actually getting this with the help of this get system service class, okay, which is also taking help of this context object. Now, as you can see, we have certain methods here which we have implemented earlier from this which came from this base adapter class. Okay, so let's just talk about this method first. So the first method that we can see is of get count. So actually this method returns the number of or the length of the array that we have created here. So we have to actually return the length of this array in this get count method. Okay, so we can just simply say here that return if the length of every array of my every array is same. So I don't need to individually return the count of every array. Instead I can just simply say animal. I can choose any of these arrays. So let's just select this animal images array, and then I can use the dot length method in order to return the length of the array. So I will use the dot length method, and this will return the count of the elements inside my array. Okay, so now let's just move on to the next element, which says get item, and it takes an argument of integer type, which is position. So we need to actually return the position of element inside our array, which will be one particular or specific at the time. So we can actually get access to that using the using this position attribute that we are getting with this method. So I can simply say animal images, then I will simply pass this position images position attribute right here. Okay, position variable right here. Okay, so now the third method, that is get item id, which also takes an which also gives us this position value position variable. So I can just simply return this position variable right here. So I can simply just say return position. Okay, and the final one, that is a method which says which is of view type, which says get view, and that gives us 3 parameters. Now this method is very important, as we are going to inflate our view, and we are going to actually instantiate our variables that we have provided or that we have specified inside our custom view right here inside this get view method. Okay, so now for now let's just remove this return null statement. Actually this method returns something, but we are going to return it later. But first let's just implement our logic here. Okay, so the first thing I want to create is put my layout inflator inside a view. So you can actually see that we are getting an object convert view of view type with this method. So let's just rename it first. So I will say instead of convert view, I will say it as of view type. Okay, so now I can say view dot, I can actually I want to assign the value of layout inflator to this view variable. So I can say layout inflator dot inflate. I want to actually inflate my layout inflator into this view. Okay, so I want now in the parenthesis of this inflate method, what I want to do is actually I want to pass my custom list view. Okay, so for that I can say r.layout, and then I can actually access my layouts here. So here I want to pass my custom view, there is custom list view here. Okay, and the second argument, for the second argument I want to pass the root element, but for the root node for root element for this view would be null. So I can simply pass null as a root, and then just put the semicolon at the end. So now I can instantiate and access my elements or UI elements that I have specified inside my custom view. Okay, so let's just do that first here. So I'll say image view, and then I will create an object of it with the name image view. Okay, so let's just say equals to, let's just cast it to the image view type, and then I will say find view by RD. But instead of find UI by ID, what I need to do here, that all of my elements inside my what you say custom view layout, this layout all of the element of my custom view layout actually resides inside my view variable right here. So I need to use this view variable in order to access to my custom ListView UI element. So I can say view, and then I can access to my ListView UI element. So I can say view dot find view by ID, and then I can say r.id dot the name of my image view was img view, as you can see right here. So we'll do the same thing for the 3 text views that we have used also. So I will say final, then text view, let's just put the first name as of will be of my animal name. So I will say txt animal name, then I will say view dot find view by ID, and then I will connect with it to my text view UI element. That is this one. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon at the end. Okay, so now let's just do it for other 2 text views as well. So I will say final text view, then let's just put it for animal power. So I will say txt animal power, and then I will instantiate it. So let's just cast it first. So now let's just do it for the animal speed. પૂજે ના what was the ID of our third element, text element? Let's just look at it. So actually we have not specified the ID for the speed element, so let's just do it here. So I'll say ID, and then I'll say txt animal speed. Okay, so now let's just move back to the custom adapter.java file, and then I will say txt animal speed. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon at the end. So now as we have linked our this text variables with our XML file, now let's just put the values inside these variables. Okay, so let's just create 2 variables. First I will say string all txt power equals to txt animal power dot get string get text dot toString. Okay, and then I will do the same thing for the, okay, let me just remove this space from here. Okay, so now let me just do the same for the speed as well. I'll say string okay. So now let's just set the image resources for our image, and for doing that I will say image view that is this image view object. Let's just okay, so now so now let's just set the images. So I'll say set resource, set image resource, and then I will set the image resource to the array position of a particular elements of my array. So for that I can just simply say animal images, and then here I can pass the position, that the variable that we are getting as a parameter right here. So I can simply pass this position here. Okay, so now it is giving me an error because we need to return something with this method. So we'll just simply return this view. Okay, so just simply write here return and then return the view. Okay, like this, and put the semicolon at the end. So now let's just run our application and see whether it is working or not. So as you can see, my application is up and running right now, but it is not showing me anything. So let's just open the logcat and see for the errors. Okay, so the reason for that my layout is not showing up is because we have not yet set the adapter for the ListView inside my main activity.java file. Okay, so now let's just set my layout inflator. Let's just set the custom ListView adapter inside the main activity.java file. Okay, so first what I need to do is to create an object of this custom list adapter class. Okay, so let's just do it using custom list adapter class, and let's just create an object with the name adapter. Okay, so now I will just create a new object using new keyword, and I will say custom adapter, and for the context I will pass main activity dot this. I am actually passing this context because as you can see inside my custom ListView adapter.java class we have a constructor right here which takes an argument of context type. Okay, so that is why we are passing the context of this current activity. Okay, so now let's just set it to the ListView. So for that I will use this ListView object which we have created right here, and then I will use set adapter method in order to set the adapter. And then inside the set adapter method I will simply pass this adapter object. So I'll simply say adapter right here, and now let's just run our application again and see whether it is working or not. So now as you can see my application is running now, and now as you can see we have successfully placed our images right here. Okay, so now I want to show you one thing, so let's just wait for that a little bit. Let's open the emulator again. Okay, so it is not getting crashed because of the memory. So the thing that I want to show you here, that whenever you use such high resolution images and so many high resolution images in your application directly, when you put so many high resolution images on one string on one screen, then we can face an error that is out of the memory. So the application can run out of the memory that it has been specified. Okay, so this is the not good practice, that how that you should not use your images and put it on the ListView like this. So what we can do instead is we can actually decrease the size of the image and then put it on the ListView. So we can use the object of the bitmap. So now let's just learn about the bitmap first, that what are the bitmap and how and where we can use in our Android application. So as you can see, I already opened a tab here, and now as you can see the definition here, that we use the bitmap for loading the images inside our UI thread. Okay, so it says that bitmap can very easily exhaust an app's memory budget. Okay, so it is saying the same thing, that we can using such high quality images, we can actually exhaust our app's memory. Okay, so what we can do instead is decrease the quality of these images and then show it to the application, so that we make sure that our application will not crash. Okay, so for that, let's just go back to this our custom list adapter class, and below this let's just comment this out, because we don't want to set the image view like this. So let's just comment this out, and now what we will do is actually try to reduce our image size or quality of the image using the bitmap factory. Okay, so what we can do instead is we can do this final, and then I'll say bitmap factory, and then I'll use dot options method, and now I'll create the object of this, and I will name it as options. And then what will I say, that then I will create new object of I am actually creating a new object of bitmap factory dot options class. So I can say new, and then I can say bitmap factory dot options like this. Okay, so in this way we have created a new object of the bitmap factory dot option class. Okay, so now what we can do is we can actually specify the sample size of the image that we want. So I can use this in sample size method, and here I can specify the sample size of my image. So let's just put it 8 for now, and now let's just put the semicolon at the end. So now let's just create the object of bitmap class, and then let's just name it as BM, and then I'll say bitmap factory. Now we know we need to decode our resource. Okay, so we will use bitmap factory for that. So I'll say bitmap factory dot decode resource. Okay, so now this method will take 3 parameters as argument, and the first one will be the resource itself. Then the second one, the first one will be the context context of the resource. The second one, as you can see right here, the first one will be the resource ID, the second one will be the resource itself, and the second and the third one will be this bitmap factory options object. Okay, so we can specify it like this using the context object. I can say context dot get resources in order to get the resource ID, and then as a second argument I will pass the images with its position, that is one image at a time. Okay, and then I can pass this options object right here of the bitmap factory dot options class. Okay, then I can just simply put the semicolon at the end, and now I can set the image view like this. So I will say image view dot set image. Now instead of image resource, we want to actually set the image using bitmap. So I will say set image bitmap, and then I can simply pass the image bitmap object. Okay, so it will be a BM. So now let's just run our application again and see how does it works. Okay, So now, as you can see, our application is running now, but the quality of our images has been decreased. Okay, like in here, as you can see, the quality of the images has been decreased. Okay, so let's just we can actually increase the quality of the images that we want to show. So for that, we will just reduce this number. So let's just put it 4 instead, and now let's just reinstall our application again and to see what happens. Okay. So as you can see now, my application is now running, but the quality of my images is now much better. But this process might be some tiresome to actually check the quality of the images again and again with the specific images. So what we can do instead is we can actually use another method which calculate the best quality of our image that we can show with the context of the memory available to our application. So let's just do that. So let's just comment this whole thing. So just select them all and just click on the hold on the control and click on the slash in order to comment this in order to do multi-line comment. Okay. So now what we want to do is want to create a method which can create or calculate the sample size, this sample size, because this sample size is responsible for setting up the quality. So let's just create a method which calculates this sample size. So we will create this outside this get view method, and make sure you are inside the method of the class. And now let's just create that method. Okay, so let's just say public static, as it will return an integer value. So I will specify integer instead of void. Okay, so now let's just name this method as calculate dot let's just name it calculate in sample size. Okay, so I'll say calculate in sample size, and then we will put some arguments inside this method. So the first thing that argument will be the items that we need to in order to calculate this in sample size. Okay, so the first argument will be the object of the bitmap factory. So let's just create an object with the bitmap factory dot options type. So I will say bitmap factory dot options, and then I will create the object of that. Okay, the next thing I want is the required width and height of the image. Okay, so on basis on that I can calculate the sample size. Okay, so I will, both of them will be in integer form. So I will create them in the integer type. So I will say integer, and then I will say require width and then again I will say integer require height. Okay, so now let's just define our method here. Okay, so first thing we need to calculate is the height and width of the image. So let me just put an comment here. So the thing we are going to calculate is the raw width and height of the image. Okay, so now the second thing that I want to so let's just do it first. So I will say final integer height, and then I will get the height of this thing using this options object. Okay, so I can say options dot out height. Okay, and then I want the width, so I will say final integer width, and it will come from options dot out width. And then let's just put the initial sample size for as 1. Okay, so I can say integer in sample size to be 1. Okay, so now let's just write our logic for calculating the height and width of the and the quality of the image. Okay, so for that I can use the if statement here, that I will say if height is greater than required height or width is greater than required width, then I need to do this. That is, I will take final integer variable, final integer half height. That is, I will take the half height of the given height and for getting the half value of the height I will divide it by 2. Okay, and now let's just do the same thing for the width. Okay, so now we will calculate the largest sample size value, that is a power of 2, and keeps both the height and width larger than the requested height and width. Okay, so now let me just put a comment here first. So I'll say calculate, in order to better give you a better understanding of what we are in order to give you a better understanding of what we are doing here. So I'll say calculate largest in sample size value that is a power of 2 and keeps both height and width larger than requested height and width. Okay, so now let's just apply our logic here. So I'll say I will use the while loop here. So I'll say while, and then I will check the half height value. Okay, so I can say here in the bracket I can say half height, and I will divide it with the sample size. I can say half height to divide with the sample size if it is greater than the requested height, and I will do the same thing for the width. So now here I am what I am doing, that I am repeatedly dividing, I am repeatedly checking or dividing the half height with the sample size, and then I am checking if it is greater than the required height, and if it is and the same thing goes for the width, then what we will do, I will multiply the sample size by 2. Okay, so what I can say here, that with the shorthand technique, what I can say in the simple terms, multiply the sample size by 2. Okay, so this will do that thing for me. Okay, so this is a shorthand technique to write that code. Okay, and then simply I want to return the sample size, so I can simply write here return in sample size. Okay, so now we need to write another method here. So let's just type in public static void public static bitmap type. It will return an object of the bitmap type. So I can say public static bitmap, and now I'll name it as we want to decode this sample size. So I can say decode sample bitmap from resources. Okay, so actually we are going to apply this sample size on the resources or images that we have. Okay, so for that I will require the parameter as an argument are the first one will be the resource itself. So I can say resource and let's just create an object of that resource. Import the classes for that. Okay, so actually we have misspelled it. Okay, so now let's just put the second argument is the as a resource ID. That is the res ID. Okay, so now let me just import the classes for the resources, and now we can put another two argument as well. So the next one will be the required width and the required height. Okay, so I can say required width and required height. Okay, so now let's just start our method here. So the first thing I need to do is to decode in just decode bounds. Okay, that if it is true to the check dimension. So let me put the comment here that the first decode width in just decode bounds, okay, to be true to check dimensions. Okay, so now let's just apply the code for it here. So I can say final bitmap factory dot options, then I can say options equals to new bitmap factory dot options. So in this way I'm creating the bitmap factory options dot options object. Okay, so now let's just say options dot in just decode bounds, and then I'll specify the value to be true. Okay, so now let's just say bitmap factory dot decode resources method will be called here, and then we'll pass the resource itself, and then the res ID and the option object. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon right here, and now let's just calculate the in sample size. For calculating the in sample size, we already have created a method here, so let's just call this method here. Okay, let me put the comment here, calculate in sample size. Okay, so now let's just say options dot in sample size would be calculate in sample size, and let's just pass the parameters here. The first one will be the options object, the second and third one will be the required height and width. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon it here. Okay, so now the last thing that we need to do is decode the bitmap with the in sample size that we have set here. Okay, so let's just say decode bitmap with in sample size set. Okay, so now let's just put the logic here, that is we'll use the options object, and then I'll say in just decode bounds, let's just we will set it to false, and then we will simply return this bitmap factory object. Okay, so let's just say bitmap factory dot decode resources, and then I'll pass the arguments as resource ID and then options object. So in this way we can calculate actually we can calculate the quality of the image. So if we can see these two methods, we are actually doing the same thing that we were doing right here while setting up the in sample size of the quality of the image, but we are actually doing it in our more specific way using our own logic. Okay, so now let's just set the image quality and set the image resource of our image view. Okay, so for doing that I will say, now I can simply say I can create a bitmap object right here. So let me do that, bitmap bm and then I can use the decode sample from bitmap resource method that we have created right here. I can use this method. I can simply call this method from here, and then I can pass the context dot get resources method in order to get the resources, and then I can pass the animal images with the position. I can say position, and then for the third argument I will pass the options bitmap factory dot options object. So I can say options here. Okay, so now let's just put the semicolon in there. Okay, so let's just create the object first. So I can simply copy this line from this comment as we have commented it. So now let's just paste it here, and now let's just put it here. Okay. Okay, so here okay, so instead we don't need to do this. So let's just, for the third and fifth argument I will say 50 and 50 to be the required width. Okay, so now let's just set the image. So I'll say image view dot set image bitmap, as I am using the bitmap for setting the image view, and now I can simply pass the bitmap object here. Okay, so now let's just run our application and see whether it is working or not. Let me put this in the new line in order to get you give you a better understanding of what I have written. Okay, so now let's just run our code again and reinstall our application. So as you can see now, my application is running, and as you can see, the quality of the image is much better than the quality when we were using this method. Okay, so in this way you can still use the high quality images and then put it inside your application. So as you can see now, the text the other values are not showing up. That is because we have not set the other values. So now let's just set the other values as well, and then let's just run our application again. Okay, so let's just put our logic here before this this return statement. So after setting up the image view, I can say that the txt animal name to be set text, and then it will get the animal name from the animal names array. So I can simply pass the position here. Okay, so I can do the same thing for the other two as well. So I'll say txt animal power dot set text, and 5 मिनट में आवजो. It will now it will get from the all text power string variable that we have created here. Okay, so we will say all text power plus, we'll put a colon here, and then we will say let's just open the inverted comma, and then let's just put the colon inside it as we want to print this thing, and then we will also join our animal power array, animal power, and we will pass the position here. Okay, so now let's just add some space after it also. Okay, so now let's just copy this thing, but now let's just do this same thing for the animal speed. So for the animal speed I will do the same thing. I will set text to be all text speed, and then I will say I will put a colon in between inside the inverted comma, and then I'll join the animal speed and give it the position value. Okay, so I'll say position. Okay, so now let's just run our application again and see whether it is working or not. So now as you can see, our application is running, and now it is showing me the values and the images as well. So as you can see, the first image is of beer and it says power 200 and speed to be 50. The second image is of bird and it says power to be 20 and speed of the speed to be 80, and so on. It is showing me for every images. Now the reason the old text power is actually containing the value of our text view that we have put inside my custom list view, that is this one. Okay, so that is why it is showing me that power, then colon that we have put, and then 50. Okay, so now let's just implement the on click listener on this. That what I want, that whenever the user clicks on this any of this list item, I want that it shows me the name of the animal. Okay, so let's just implement the anonymous on click listener here. So I can say, I can actually use this view as it contains my view. So I can say I have view dot set on click listener, this one, and now I will create an anonymous listener here. So I can say new view on click listener. So inside this on click method, I can specify my logic here. So I simply want to show a toast message. So I can simply say toast dot make text, and then I can pass the context here. So for that I can say context, and then I can say the name of the animal is, and then I'll apply some space here, and then I'll join my value, text value, that is from text animal name dot get text. Okay, now let's just define the length of my toast message here. So I'll say toast dot length to be short. Okay, so now let's just put the show method after this in order to show this toast message. Okay, so now let's just, okay, so it is giving me an error in this context. Okay, so we have to actually use the object of the context that we have declared earlier. So now the error is gone. Okay, so now let's just run our application again and see whether it is working or not. So as you can see right now, my application is now running, and now if I click on any of this list item, now it is giving me the name of the animal. For example, if I click on this cat, then it is showing me the name of the animal is cat. Now let's just click on this bird again. Now it is showing me the name of the animal is bird. Now let's just click on this dolphin again, and now it is saying me the name of the animal is dolphin. So this is how you can create and set up a custom list view in your application, and you can show user different different things or different list items with the help of the custom view. And you can in this example we have also learned that how we can set up and calculate our sample size of our images, and using these two method. Okay, so now so that was it for this example.